in our case, you know, almost 24,000, or almost, well, about 24,000 metric tons. And, you know, the savings they get from working from home, even if they have to run their computer at home, run the lighting, run the air conditioning and heating, they're still saving over 70% in most case on the cost. Okay, so it is still cheaper to be working part-time than paying for all that driving. So overall for us, several $1 million of direct savings. So in summary then, there is no single green, all right? Business cases have to extend beyond the departmental view. You know, so the IT guys tend to focus on IT. Trouble is with green, you're in the real estate space. So if you're not working with real estate, you need to be talking. And maybe that means you gotta put some IT costs in the real estate budget and be ready to do that because it benefits them. But the bottom line is you need to be thinking beyond your own budget to get some of these green things in place. There's going to continue to be more innovations, and they're going to continue to mature. Look at virtualization. It wasn't mature at the start. Look at it now, and it's still getting new stuff. You know, cloud computing is another thing that's hitting people today. That too will get better. Software as a service, another thing. You know, so you may not need to have your own data center because you can get it from somebody else. But these things will get better and better. So there's no one point to get to. You always got to be paying attention here. And then lastly, the adoption rates are all going to be paced by a number of factors. So, you know, not everybody's got an endless budget, okay? Everybody's got money constraints to, like I said, the maturity of the solution. IT groups are very risk averse. You know, they will pilot things to try them out, but they're not going to make a whole hog conversion until they've got some proof points that show, you know, it's ready and the risk is manageable. To just even getting the people or the time to be able to do something is going to pace things. Okay? And then lastly, one of the things we can expect is regulations are going to continue to expand as the government's put in place rules around, you know, you need to be this more efficient than you used to be or comply with these types of things. And that's going to spur probably some adoption rather than hinder it, but that of course costs money as well. That all has to be agreed to by the business leaders and so on. So there's a number of things you got to do. I know I didn't talk a lot about measuring PUE and all this other stuff that Green Grid talks to, and those are all important things to do too. But if you step back a bit, there's a bunch more holistic things you can do and get some pretty massive results. Any questions? Yeah.
A couple actually, but first is, what can real estate do?
What can, well, first thing they can do is help us understand the power bill. That would be the first and best thing they could do. And then probably after that, much like we did with computing, why are we in certain locations? Ask the fundamental question. You know, do I need to be in this building? Is there a better way to do it? You know, should I be signing these long-term leases? You know, when maybe there's another technology discontinuity that kind of renders that to be obsolete, but you're stuck with it. It can be costly to get out of it. So, but starting with the power bill, that would start opening up a lot of people's eyes and start driving the right questions to be asked. Because when you start telling the employees, you know, the power bill to run all your computers is this much, and because you've been mucking with your power savings or you're not turning stuff off, it costs us this much money. And especially if it means, you know, if you managed it better, you could save this many jobs. People start paying attention because it's a little action they can do that's easy. You know, it all starts with information. But getting some of the information can be a little tough because you have to do some work to, in case of power bills, you might need to do some extra metering to be able to break it out and stuff like that. But at least starting, you know, we didn't know what our power bill was in the data center up the road there until about a year and a bit ago. And now we can see it every month. We can see how much energy is being used. I'd like to go a little deeper, but it's pretty scary when you're spending just Well, it was about $35,000 a month just on electricity to run the rooms. You know, we're not spending that anymore. But it's like, you know, just for the privilege of having the room there. Now, that's a very important function, but, you know, that's a lot of money, and that's just one room. So that would be the best answer I think I could give there.
You mentioned here that funding or budget was a continuing constraint. What's your top one or two technical constraints that you can still further?
Probably, yeah, well, I guess that's an organizational constraint. Usually the technical, it depends on the area, but it's usually more an organizational constraint. But a technical constraint would be, you know, certain applications are vital to the business, so how do you schedule them to be able to move without killing the business is always a difficult challenge. Every application's got different nuances, so there's no one answer there. Other questions? Yes?
You talked about virtualization. I mean, it doesn't run on a server, it goes on a web service or something like that?
No, these run on a server. So what happens is we've created some pools. So in our pools, we've got about 30 servers right now running 300 that are in operation, but actually have capacity for 450 on there. We need to kind of that's a rough order of extra capacity, but it'll depend on what apps we put on there, but essentially that's what we've been seeing in operation. So you got to put some money in, but at least the servers you're putting in are quite a bit more efficient than they were even a couple of years ago because of the power supplies they're using, the chips they're using. The vendors have really been putting a lot of effort in it. And of course, these hosting pools are all run on Intel AMD type servers. They're not big, expensive Unix boxes either, so pretty low cost to acquire as well. Yes?
Do you have to do any restructuring of the application in order to allow them to be location transparent for virtualization or moving certain data centers?
Simple answer is probably yes. Because we had over 1,000 business applications, Mary. And, you know, we're actually closer to maybe about 500 now. And, you know, it all started with, why does this instance need to be here? If there wasn't a compelling reason, it kind of got moved to another instance. And that all of a sudden kind of started reducing the instances of it. And then you can start asking, well, where are the test and development environments for these applications? Are they in the same place as the production application? Because if we want to use them as our BCP failover side, well then if they're in the same place as the production one, well, if it goes down, that's not good. So you had to take that into account too. So, you know, there's different questions like that that we get asked in portfolio. But that's part of managing the portfolio. And because we did an inventory of all our applications across the company, if you didn't have an inventory, it wasn't getting anywhere. If you couldn't identify what this server was for, guess what? It got unplugged and taken away. So this gave us a registry of all the applications which we then assigned people prime names to for different aspects. And we keep that up to date, mapped into these roadmaps so that we could so let's say we do want to make some changes in the data center, you know, who all the primes are, all the applications that are there. Likewise, when you have an outage incident, the conversation is a bit different now because instead of this server's down, this application's down, and these teams are involved. So it's a much better way to approach things by having such root entry systems to allow you to kind of know and then affect the changes.